Well, get ready or not, it may be hard to believe, but for a lot of our area schools and students, we're about a week out from the start of the new school year. After a summer of late nights, now is the time to start thinking about that back to school bedtime routine if you haven't already. So joining me this morning is Dr. Sarah DeHolst, a pediatrician with MultiCare and a resident expert, I'd say, on the importance of a good night's sleep. Good morning. Thanks for being here. So you and I were just joking about this. When should families start thinking about that back to school routine if they haven't already?
Right now.
Okay, right now, today.
Today. It's time.
So talk more about what that looks like. How do you get back into that routine if parents want to take some practical steps now?
Right. It is time for some earlier nights, some practice getting up in the morning, because that can be tough, especially for those older kids that tend to stay up late scrolling and watching videos.
Yeah, so talk about that. That is a big topic for families, trying to unplug from screen time. What advice do you have parents who maybe kind of struggle with that to get kids off of their devices?
Right. I think some awareness that only about 20% of middle school and high school kids actually are getting enough sleep. And so really taking that screen away and spending evenings with family time rather than being on a screen.
And obviously it's going to depend on the range of how much sleep kids should get, but overall, what would be your advice for parents on how much sleep kids should be getting?
Right, elementary kids are about 10 to 12 hours, some even more, and high school kids, believe it or not, 8 to 10 hours.
Wow, okay, so now talk about what are some of the signs that your child might not be getting enough sleep? What are the red flags?
Right, now those first couple weeks of school, we're stressed, it's new friends, new teachers, but irritability, having trouble getting up in the morning, not able to focus, not able to come home and say, this is what we did today, because they're just so exhausted.
Wow, and talk about more of the results, I guess, or the impacts of students who just don't get enough of sleep.
Right, it is really hard to focus, it's hard to concentrate, hard to learn. And then we've got our student athletes who are putting in that extra time. It takes longer for us to recover from injuries and fatigue if we're not getting enough sleep at night.
Wow. And then we didn't talk about this one, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but with daylight saving time, looking ahead to the fall, talk about if we stayed on permanent daylight saving time. And if kids are now going to school when it's still dark, how could that impact sleep? Right.
Daylight savings time really does very much impact sleep, especially if we were to go to permanent daylight savings time. There is a push nationally to consider whether or not high schools should actually start later, just like our middle schools here do. And we know that kids who start later actually are more successful in school when they're in their high school years.
All right. Dr. DeHolst, thanks for being here. Always a pleasure. Appreciate it.